Hello there, and welcome to Talking Nerdy, the show where we take various story arcs and events from current comics and we cover them. I'm your host, Obi-Wan Jabroni. Now, our story today is Reptil number 1 through 4, written by Terry Bloss, with art by Enid Blom, and colors by Carlos Lopez. Humberto Lopez's life changed after discovering a mystical fossilized amulet that granted him the ability to transform into any prehistoric creature. Once hunted and tortured for his powers, treated as a hero and villain alike, and now flying solo. So, with that, let's start talking nerdy. First up, we have Reptil number 1, A New Home. Now, we open in LA, and we get a little bit of an opening monologue / cover story of what's been happening in his life up to this point. My mom used to have this saying, "No sé Pedro apreciado lo que es a inquistador." Sorry, I'm not good at Spanish. I tried. Which is funny considering most people have no idea who I am. And you know what? That might have bothered me once. Maybe it still does. I have no idea. My name is Humberto Lopez, and I was a superhero. Reptil. Ring a bell? Yeah, I didn't think so. My parents are paleontologists. I went on a dig with them once and found a fossilized bone amulet that gave me the ability to turn into any dinosaur. Every kid's dream, really. The next dig my parents went on, they disappeared. My abuelo Vincent took me in after that. Papa Vic gave me my superhero name. Because of my power set, I was recruited to the 50-state initiative. It was pretty awesome. Soon after, I joined the Avengers Academy and actually became class leader. Started dating a girl, sort of. As part of my training, I received PIM particles so I could transform into a full dinosaur. But when I did, I had no way to stay in control and not have the animal inside take over completely. Yeah, I could hurt bad dudes, but in that state, I could hurt anybody. In fact, Norman Osborn had me kidnapped and experimented on to try to harness my powers for his own destructive purposes. And it turns out, he wasn't the only one who looked at me and only saw the harm I could do. My teammates and I found out that we were drafted into Avengers Academy, not because of our hero potential, because of our likelihood that we would become villains. So we disbanded. Some leader I turned out to be. And then came Kamala's Law, and an organization called Cradle was created to enforcement. It banned teenage superheroes from using their powers unless they were registered and had an approved mentor. Most teenagers with powers were really upset about it. Some adults were too when it was revealed that kids with powers were being put in unethical re-education camps. It still feels like too much. Around that time, Papa Vic's health took a turn for the worse, and it wasn't a good idea for him to live alone. Tia Glow is a doctor, so it made sense for me to help Papa Vic move in with her. Leave some of the superheroing behind and focus on being a family. I think that's what I need right now. Besides, I have a lot of video games to catch up on. My cousin Eva, she's always been a bit of an overachiever and an avid reader. She's already taken college classes. And her brother Julian is her twin. Julian's a vlogger. He makes videos about fashion and pop culture. Now, Humberto goes into his aunt's house and unpacks his things before going back downstairs. He sees a framed picture of his parents and asks if he can hang it up and his grandpa Vic says no, it's for their memorial. Humberto trips out yelling that they can't do that because his parents aren't dead, they are just missing. And his cousins Eva and Julian quickly grab him and they go out to see town. They go to a taco truck and Humberto tells them that Humberto tells him, "I really shouldn't have blown up at Papa Vic, though. I just don't even know how to control my anger very well. It feels like I'm always getting into trouble. I feel like I never have any choice or control over anything. I can't control my temper. I had no say when Janine broke up with me. Can't even choose whether or not to use my powers without it being illegal. I can't even turn into a full dinosaur anymore. Well, I can, but I'm really scared to. The wild animal mind inside takes over, and I feel like prisoner in my own body. I hurt people when that happens. And now, I've likely hurt Papa Vic just by yelling at him. I mean, he's used to my moods, but I don't want to stress him out. I just miss my mom and dad so much. Ugh, it's the not knowing that hurts. How am I supposed to believe that they are just gone? And a massive explosion goes off down the street from them, interrupting their conversation, and they all three dive behind the taco truck. Humberto tells his cousins to stay where they are and charges out towards the explosion. He approaches to see a man with a rock armor and a green glow coming from its cracks, accompanied by two rock golems. The man sees him and demands that Humberto give him the amulet now, and Humberto refuses, causing the man to throw rocks at him. It misses and hits a building, causing rubble to fall towards a small boy. Humberto grows a dino tail as he rushes over and grabs the boy and swings his tail to beat the rubble away. He tells the boy to run and charges at the man. The man, as his head, transforms into a triceratops and he rams both rock golems. The man lunges and tackles Reptil to the ground, saying, I'll rip out the amulet it's if you don't give it to me willingly. Eva yells no and charges at them, and just before she reaches them, a massive red blast comes from her hands and smacks Reptil in the man, sending them flying backwards. She mumbles what happened, and passes out. Reptil gets up and charges at the man as he grows raptor claws and feet and pins him to the ground. The man says, Give me the amulet now, and I'll tell you where your parents are. And that ends our first issue. Taking us to Reptil number 2, Bombshell. And we open in downtown LA. And Reptil has the man pinned to the ground and demands to know about his parents when Julian yells for help. Reptil looks over and his tail grows longer, and he saves Julian from a rock golem, but it gives the man a chance to knock Reptil off of him, and they escape away before he can recover. They hear the cops coming, and the taco stand worker tells them to go, and he will cover for them. Later at the Lopez home, we learn that Eva has been studying magic, but had never actually used it until today. And when Julian says he recorded the whole thing, and Humberto flips out saying that he can't and won't post that video, Julian jumps up and gets in Humberto's face, saying, You're wrong. Why do you think I'm so obsessed? Why do you think I worship you? You have the most amazing superpowers, and you have to be forced to use them. You don't want to use them. There's a difference. Look around, Berto. People who look like us, sound like us, they aren't celebrated. We're seen as outsiders. The three of us are a third generation, all born here, and we still get told we need to go back where we came from. You have the power to make a difference, to give people's hope. Kamala's law is over. That's not an excuse anymore. Slavery is legal. It's still illegal to be gay in some places. Just because something is the law doesn't mean it's right. How are you supposed to believe in a better world if you can't see someone like us out there representing us, inspiring us? And Eva jumps in and says, "You've already inspired me. You're actually why I felt I could learn to do magic." And Alberto gets flustered and apologizes and says he don't trust himself to keep his powers under control. And that's when Grandpa Vic enters the room and asks what all the yelling's about. They say nothing is wrong, and Vic sees the villain on the TV and says he's the famous billionaire named Henry Dargin before leaving the room. Eva hurries and looks him up and says, it says Henry Dargin founded a big tech company called Megalith, which made him insanely rich. But this says he disappeared suddenly and became a recluse. Some suspect he's holed up in his mansion in the Pacific Pallades, but there has been no confirmed sightings of him since. This is definitely him, though. And Humberto says they need to find him fast and to learn where his parents are immediately. Eva says she can open a portal, and Julian pulls out a box from under his bed and says that we made this for Humberto. And they open it to see a new super suit for Reptil. And as he puts it on, Eva gets a portal to Dinosaur World open, and they all go through. They get there, and Reptil grows wings and picks them both up and flies to the mountaintop. He says they have to walk the rest of the way when he hears a snap and quickly transforms into a Triceratops raptor hybrid as a pack of raptors charge at them from the bush. Before they reach them, a purple blast from behind them hits the raptors and kills them all. They turn to see an old ape-like woman standing nearby. And Humberto recognizes her as the hag who gave him his powers. And she tells them to come with her. Now they go with her and they arrive at the hag's home. And and the hag asks, "Why have you come here?" And Reptil says, "My parents disappeared a few years ago. We were just attacked by a man who says he knows where they are. He wanted my amulet, but he had one of his own and could manipulate stone and dirt into these big creatures. How does he know where my parents are? Why does that have anything to do with my amulet? Is there something I don't know about?" And the hag laughs and says, "Child, you could fill the pits with the knowledge of the lack of your powers. I told you the last time we spoke that I created the amulet so that you one day may save the world and fight the creatures whose strength you possess. I believe that time has come. Many years ago, I had a son, Sarin. He lived a life in constant fear of the dinosaurs and of the spirits living within the pits. He doesn't understand why the spirits protected me and not him. I created the amulet, which gave its wielder power over prehistoric flora and fauna, to protect our world from extinction, like what happened to your world. My son's fear had turned into anger, and when he saw the powerful totem I created, he wanted it for himself. He flew into a rage when I would not allow him to wield it. He had no intention of using it to protect our world, but instead to use it to control it. He tried to claim it. I held him back, but knew he would never stop trying to take it, so I called on the spirits to guide me. They told me to drop the amulet into the pit so that I might one day be found by one who was worthy to wield it. That would be you. As for your parents, your guess is as good as mine." Reptil says, "So both amulets are actually one big one that's broken in half?" And the hag says yes, and tells them to hurry back and stop Megalith and reunite the amulet. Eva starts to make a portal when a huge pack of raptors arrive and charge at them. They start to get overran, and Eva tells Reptil that he has to fully transform, and he hesitantly agrees as he fully transforms into a T-Rex and starts to pick off the raptors before losing control and charging at Eva and Julian themselves. And that ends this issue, leading us to Reptil number 3, Out of Control. Now, we open in Dinosaur World, and Reptil has lost control and is charging at Eva and Julian, fully transformed into a T-Rex. Julian hurries into a portal, and just as Reptar reaches them, the hag hits him with the blast, causing him to start to transform back. Eva grabs him and pulls them both through the portal. The next day at the Lopez home, Humberto is laying in bed moping when Julian sits next to him and says to tell him what's up. Humberto says he lost control and nearly killed them both, and Julian says to sit up and listen to me. "Look, growing up, you and I were like best friends. By the time I came out as gay, you and your parents had moved away. My mom struggled with it, and it was your mom who called and helped her and Papa Vic come around. When your parents disappeared, my mom saw how short life can be and how being present really counts. When I came out, I had a lot of anxiety and depression. I felt like I had no control over anything. I was out. But as a Mexican, well, there is still this machias idea of what I was supposed to be as a man. So mom put me in fencing to help me find focus. We also went to therapy together and learned how to shut out those inner voices that were telling me who I was and who I wasn't supposed to be. I know, right? Latinos admitting they need therapy. Crazy. But you know what? It helped. I learned that there was a lot that makes us feel like we have no control. It taught me that we are not our bodies. We're inside our bodies. You just have to remember that. Breathe in. Tell yourself that you're in control. Then breathe out. That helped me to start to feel present and focused. Oh, I dropped my pages. I'm sorry. Present and focused. Um, we switched to later that day now. The three of them get on a bus and ride to Megalith's home. They sneak around the fence and to the back and climb over. Reptil grows wings and carries them up to a balcony on the top floor, and then grows claws to cut the glass open around the door. They enter a room and see that it's an office, and they see blueprints for a portal on the desk along with a gauntlet. Julian puts on the gauntlet and pushes a button. It transforms him into Megalith, and he quickly turns it off and turns back. Reptil that says that it makes sense now. Henry disappeared years ago, and now pops up with one of those on, so maybe Henry isn't Megalith. And someone behind them says, he's not, and they turn to see Megalith in the doorway. Eva quickly throws out a spell and freezes him in place, and Reptil asks who he really is and where his parents are. Megalith says, I got an alert that the security alarm was going off. There just wasn't any sound. Your magic isn't as strong as you think, girl. This won't hold me forever. I'm surprised you're not more worried about where the real Darjin is, you being a hero and all. Who do you think made all these devices for me? I had to imprison him and force him to do it, threaten to hurt those he cared about. Some people care just far too much about their families. And Reptile says, you funded my parents' digs? Why? The best way to find the amulet was to fund the digs. I needed money to do that. It was easy to fool your parents when they thought Darjin was funding their work. For scientists, they were incredibly stupid. You still haven't figured it out yet, though, have you? You found half of the amulet. It bonded to you, knowing you found part of what I wanted. I went on to the next dig to the same site with your parents. They unearthed the rest of the amulet, and it started bonding to them. I took it from them, disturbing the bonding process, separating their core essence from their bodies, and allowed me to use the amulet's magic. It was quite a sight to witness. And at a dig site, not difficult to bury the bodies, especially with my new powers. You see, their spirits, they're still bonded to the amulet. There, in here. And Reptile snaps and throws Megalith out of the window and jumps out after him. Megalith summons two ground golems as they go after Eva and Julian as he continues to fight Reptile. The golems knock Eva and Julian over the side, and Reptile rushes over to help, but Megalith wraps him up with a bola. Megalith grabs Julian, and Julian quickly pushes a button on Megalith's gauntlet, causing him to turn back into his true self and stumble backwards. Reptile recovers and escapes and says that he recognizes Monolith. He is the hag's son, Sarin. Reptile knocks him back and quickly grows wings and flies all three of them away. They don't make it too far before Reptile starts to bleed out from a bad head wound. They land, and Eva and Julian carry him into their house and tell Grandpa Vic to hurry and help them. And that ends this issue. Taking us to our final issue, Reptile number 4, The Final Fight. And we open at the Lopez home, and Grandpa Vic and Humberto are sitting in the backyard talking. And Grandpa Vic says, "Oh, good, you're up. Have a seat, Humberto. There are some things I want to tell you. Last night, when your primos dragged you home bloody and unconscious, we were scared. I convinced your Tia Gloria to nurse you back to health here at home. She wanted to take you to a hospital. Cradle supposedly isn't around anymore, but they locked up kids with powers in re-education camps. Couldn't take the chance that those things still aren't secretly happening. I'm not losing my family anymore. Is Tia Gloria mad at me? Well, the three of you lied and snuck out and got into a fight with a dangerous man. Even if he does have your parents' spirits like he says, your coming home injured and unconscious scared her. I know you heal fast in dinosaur form, like when you got radiation poisoning. Why don't you do that? Scared to. I tried hard to control my mind when I turned into full dinosaur, but it never goes well. Julian got hurt last time that happened. I don't want to lose any more family either. That and Tia Glow said not to do it in the house. I understand. I was trying to control how little you and your primos knew about my health problems, but it didn't help. I know that it's better to open up, and it's hard for a man to admit when he's weak. Forget that macho garbage. You opening up like this, Papa, that makes you strong, not weak. More free. And you not having total control of everything doesn't make you weak. I didn't want to admit it, but there's a freedom in letting go of trying to control everything. Sometimes things can feel more clear, like you said, free. I want you to remember something. Your parents would be proud of you. So the best way for us to honor them is to live open and free in the present, not to cling to the past. Besides, we're Mexican. We have a whole holiday for celebrating those we loved and lost, no matter what. You'll never lose them. They'll always be with you. And one more thing. This megalith guy shows up again. I know, I know. I'll run or not fight him or whatever. What? No. You kick his ass. Yes, live in the now and don't cling to the past, but come on. If he really does have your parents the next time he comes around, you take him the fuck down. Now, later that day at the festival, Humberto and Julian go for taco stand for free tacos, and Eva takes the stage to dance with her group. When Megalith drops from a roof nearby and yells, Reptil, you and I have unfinished business, boy. I'll rip that amulet right out of your chest and reunite it with mine. It will be made whole, and I'll make my glorious return to dinosaur world as Lord of the Pits. And Humberto transforms into a Spinosaurus and charges at Megalith, and a army of golems rise from the ground. Reptil easily plows through a group of golems and lunges at Megalith. Megalith dodges and sends Reptil flying with an uppercut. He lands, and his family and some of the festival goers step up to defend him. Eva makes a magic sword for Julian and makes a giant dome around the park, saying it will let humans through, but not Megalith and his golems. Reptil stands and says something in Spanish to his family, and Megalith gets mad, asking what he said. Reptil smiles and says, You didn't know? Spanish is one of my superpowers, and you're about to see another. Remember what Julian said about control. Breathe in. I'm not my body. Breathe out. I'm inside my body. I'm inside my body. His amulet starts to grow, and he fully transforms into a giant pterodactyl and maintains control this time. He charges and knocks Megalith and his golems into a portal, causing dinosaurs to escape from Dinosaur World. Eva and Julian tell everyone to get out and they will take care of the wild dinos while Reptil takes care of Megalith. Reptil lets out a loud dinosaur cry, and all the wild dinos stop and start to move to help him. Megalith asks what's happening, and Reptil says, Apparently, an added bonus of going full dino is the ability to communicate with them when I'm in control. Looks like these creatures are more willing to help me than you. Oh, sorry. And he transforms into a flying raptor hybrid, and together, him and the dinos charge Megalith. Reptil takes advantage of the help and is able to rip Megalith's amulet off his armor. He dives to the side and transforms back to human and smashes the amulet on the ground, shattering it into a bunch of pieces. Megalith's golems crumble and Reptil grabs him and tosses him through the portal, followed by the wild dinosaurs. Once the last of them are through, he smashes it, closing the portal for good. Julian and Eva run and embrace Reptil as the crowd start to cheer his name. Now, we get a montage of repair and calm life as Reptil says, oh, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Okay. As Reptil says, by now, I'm sure you've heard of the big dome that covered MacArthur Park. It was all over the news. Nobody outside of it could see what was happening inside. Well, it was me. I was inside it. A big piece of Sante Alley was destroyed due to the fight that happened there with a bad guy. I was in that fight too. The community rallied like we do, and we put it back together again. Now it's better than ever. My mom was right. I see that now. Holding on to the past, the things you can't change, it's just gonna hold you back. My name is Humberto Lopez, and I'm a superhero. I saved Los Angeles and used my powers to do it. I was inspired by another news tuber to make my own channel so we could upload this and show the world what I've done. So I can stand up and be seen and give others like us a hope for a better world. I know that sometimes it's hard to hope for a better world when so much in this one feels like it's out of your control. But we can make it better together. We do that by being present and reminding ourselves of who we are and who we represent. It's the best way to honor those we've loved and lost. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm here and I'm ready for whatever comes next. And that ends this story arc. I hope you enjoyed the video. Join us next week as we cover X-Men numbers 1 through 4. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to help spread that brand out to the world. Also, leave us a comment. Feedback is always welcome. You can also follow us on the Jabroni Nerd Facebook page. So, until next week, guys, keep talking nerdy.